Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Shelley, and I'm going to be talking to you for the next 30 minutes on how to master your mortgage, demystifying how to get there faster. A little bit of background about me. I am a money coach here at Enable Me, and I've been here for 9 years, so I feel like there's nothing I haven't seen. So lucky you get to listen to me talk for the next 30 minutes. So next slide. As always, we start off these presentations with a disclaimer. Today's presentation is just for information purposes only. It's not intended as a substitute for regulated financial advice. If you would like specific financial advice on your situation, go and see a financial advisor, come and see the team at Enable Me. So a little bit of background about me. I used to work in corporate insolvency, doing receiverships and liquidations, very negative. And 9 years ago, post having children, I stumbled across Enable Me, and the rest is history. I've been here for 9 years. I help give my clients confidence. I help them to do better and get ahead faster, feel really in control of their money, smash out debt, whether that be short-term debt or mortgage debt, grow their wealth, and help them to get retirement ready. So to set the agenda for the webinar today, I'm going to start by going through some unfortunate realities about having a mortgage in this country. I'm going to talk about the external forces that we have around us versus kind of internal resources. I'm going to talk a little bit about how to work with your own personal tendencies. I'm going to share a wonderful client story, and right at the end, I'm going to answer a couple of your questions. I believe there's capability for you to ask questions during the session today. So I think at the top of the screen, there's a wee chat box. You could pop any questions into there, and time permitting, hopefully we can answer them. So yeah, problems that Kiwis face. It's not easy in this country. As our parents and grandparents like to say, we have it easy, and we do in many ways in terms of our lives. But the system's kind of broken now for the younger generation. We're finding at the moment that 50% of Kiwis are just living paycheck to paycheck. When I first meet clients, I'll say to them, so, how does your money flow in terms of your bank accounts? And a lot of them say to me, Shelley, it comes in and then it all flows out again. So that not having that buffer, we're just kind of living hand to mouth, which is not a great way to be. 74% of Kiwis are concerned about money, and I think rightly so. There is a lot to be worried about. It is a hard, all the good things about New Zealand and all the things that make it amazing, like being really far away and there's not very many people, also make it a very expensive place to live. So definitely it's right to be concerned. Interest rates, yep, our banks are one of the most profitable in the world. And a lot of us, it's a huge focus when we have a mortgage because the impact can be huge. We know that on average, 49% of our income is going towards our mortgage, which is frightening, right? Everything else has to go into the other half. So these are some pretty grim stats in terms of being a Kiwi. So definitely harder than before to be mortgage free, get ourselves sorted for retirement, and to raise financially independent children. The reality is the conditions are harder to make progress. So we can't rely on external resources. We have to dig deeper now into our own abilities. Building equity in your home sooner and concurrently as you pay down your mortgage, giving us stability in the sense that you won't be 2 steps back when we're preparing for retirement. Paying our mortgage off faster frees up cash flow to think about those larger goals and to grow your wealth. So there are some external forces at play. What are the things that we believe dictate our perception of whether the conditions are perfect or not? We certainly can't bank on luck. We can't rely on interest rates being low all the time. If that were the case, then we would have made leaps and bounds back when they were at 2.5%, right? We need to be much more deliberate in our actions and control our controllables. So there are lots of external forces at play. The government can change policy. There can be a change of government, which then changes policy. The economic cycle and where we're at, those market fluctuations, interest rates when you have a mortgage, and lady luck. But yeah, we're not relying on luck. It's up to us to take the bull by the horns, take control, and start being financially successful. We don't have to settle for the narrative, that we can do things differently. We don't have to follow that system, but we absolutely cannot wait for the perfect conditions to start. The time will never be right. The time is now to get going. There is hope. That's why you're here, because you want to know how to pay your mortgage off faster and not add and be one of those statistics that I said earlier. So first of all, we look within, knowing that we can't control what happens around us. We look at understanding how we behave around money as the first port of call. And I'm going to go through the different kind of money personality types a little bit later. Understanding your risk appetite, how you behave around risk. Is that holding you back? Or are you taking too much risk? Understanding your tendencies around willpower. Do you need external accountability? Are you really crap with willpower? Do you need external help, or are you really good? And what are your triggers around spending? These are all things that we can control. So the plan starts by understanding your starting point, understanding where you need to land, and how long have we got? What's our length of time for our game plan? Understanding your personal tendencies and behaviors around money, and the hand you've been dealt. But most of us, it comes down to 3 key things: maximizing your surplus and the amount that you can save, killing down that home mortgage as quickly as possible, and growing wealth as you head towards retirement. Those are the 3 key things we want you to do. And they're not as easy as said than done. We know that earning more money does not necessarily translate to getting ahead faster. In fact, it's my more sort of low to middle income earners that make the best progress because their expectations are real. I find that my bigger income earners they feel they deserve to not worry about money and to be able to spend whatever they like. But the issue with earning more, you spend more, and then when that income stops, you have to adjust your lifestyle dramatically. So earning more money is not the answer. We believe financial success to be 20% strategy. So what's the plan? 80% behavior. Step 1, how do you maximize your savings? Well, we do this by strengthening your foundation. So we're understanding your money habits and your money personality. We're understanding what your goals are, even articulating your goals, and let's put some numbers around that and measure progress towards it. We're making sure that your cash flow management systems are good. We want the default position to be that you save and you actually maximize your surplus. And if you have a mortgage, how do we restructure it to pay it off faster? So understanding your money personality is the first part of it. And so here at Enable Me, we've identified 3 personality types: the shopper, the saver, and the plotter. Shoppers, they love to spend, and they often seek out the latest trends. Much like celebrities who thrive on being in the spotlight, they're the life of the party, but they can sometimes let their finances slip. Savers, on the other hand, much more cautious. They're focused on building the nest egg. They can be pretty savvy around saving and be very financially disciplined. They prefer to secure their future rather than splurge in the now on instant gratification like the shopper would. The plotters, they're kind of often floating somewhere in between, and we often find with our plotters that they can be a little bit aimless at times and lack a bit of direction. So I guess each of these money personalities has a strength and a weakness, or multiple strengths and multiple weaknesses. But the starting point is identifying, well, which one are you? And then we can look to mitigate any of those weaknesses and tap into the strengths. The second thing we look at is your approach to risk, because this plays a huge role in shaping your financial journey. Like your money personality, your risk tolerance is key to how you actually approach big financial decisions. So sometimes you could be cautious, or you might be really kind of overly risk tolerant, or somewhere in between, like a little bit optimistic with a bit of hope. But understanding your attitude to risk can help us craft a plan that's tailored to you. The key here is finding balance, taking enough risk so that you grow and beat inflation and maximize your investments, but not so much that you're constantly worried or stuck. So with our safety wardens, we find they're slow and steady, but sometimes they can be too safe. They love that sense of having money in the bank. It makes them feel safe, but they can often miss opportunity because they won't take risk. Financial success for a safety warden might look like stepping outside your comfort zone to actually make those extra gains. With our adventurer clients, it can be high risk, high reward, the attitude of nothing ventured, nothing gained. But having experts to guide them around understanding the risks and putting a few guardrails and mitigants to those risks can really help that adventurer. Our dreamers, we find they often hope for the best, but they're not actually taking the actions. And that can leave them kind of stuck, almost like they're waiting for the universe to deliver instead of taking control themselves. Because we know that financial success, it requires intention and action, not just hope. The other tendencies and personalities that we look at are around willpower and your motivation to actually act. There's 4 different personality types. So we've got our upholder at one end of the spectrum. They meet internal and external expectations, like a disciplined athlete. They stick to the plan, they deliver results. The questioner, they need a good reason before committing to a goal. Think of them like a strategist. They often do a lot of analysis before they act. But the key with that personality type is to actually get them to listen too, because they can sometimes get really dogged in terms of the direction that they think they're going to head in themselves. They are quite tricky to coach, the questioner. The obliger absolutely needs external accountability to achieve results. They're like that player on the team that performs best when they know the coach is watching. And then you've got the rebel. They're having a lot of fun, rebel. They resist putting any expectation on themselves. They don't like others placing expectation on them, but they're also quite motivated to prove doubters wrong. They're the mavericks. They thrive on defying the odds. And the final thing is, what is your cash position at the moment? Where do you believe you sit? Do you have a little bit of short-term debt sitting there? Do you have a credit card that's not quite being paid off by the end of the month? Or are you just kind of floating along aimlessly, or do you believe that you're actually flying? Knowing that starting point and your natural tendencies can really help to optimize your cash flow. When we talk about maximizing your surplus, that's the engine room to getting us ahead faster, so getting mortgage free faster. So how do you find the surplus, Shelley? Well, we believe at Enable Me that most Kiwis fritter about 15% of what comes in terms of their income. So we believe that small changes lead to big gains. So that 15% surplus can actually be the difference between struggling and totally thriving financially. Think about it like controlling the outcome of asking for a 15% pay rise. If we all had the power for that decision, we'd take it, right? So if I told you today that you could get a 15% pay rise just by tightening up on your structures and finding that fritter, why would you not? So where would you find fritter? So takeaways, that daily coffee, maybe a couple of takeaway nights per week, that might be costing you a holiday in the long run. Cutting back just a little frees up funds for bigger goals like holidays or paying your mortgage down faster. Supermarket, yep, the sneaky culprit. We all know we're just going to go in and get one thing. You leave with a bag full and $150 for one bag, right? Meal planning and shopping online can really help to curb those impulse buys and put more money back in your pocket. For a lot of us, we sign up to services, online subscriptions that we'd forgotten about. We're paying too much in terms of bank fees. These are all sources of fritter that we can find. In and of themselves, it seems inconsequential, but when you add all of this stuff up across the board and capture it, it all adds up to about 15%. Another big source of fritter is having your mortgage structured wrong and paying too much interest to the bank. So let's understand where you're frittering. Let's tighten up on the way you manage your money to capture that fritter and put it to better use. Step 2, once we've found that 15%, crush that mortgage. Your mortgage on your home, your house is a lifestyle asset. It's not a productive asset as such. Some people think they might, I'm investing in my home because I'm going to downsize later. But in my experience, it's very difficult to downsize. Often I get clients who downsize, but they don't actually downprice. So crushing your home mortgage is really key. Let's just get it gone. It's going to open up opportunity and it's going to release downward pressure on your cash flow because you're going to have lower mortgage repayments or no mortgage repayments once you become mortgage free. So let's take this opportunity to think about your mortgage and your plan around your mortgage. The questions to ask yourself: should I stay with my current bank? How long have you been with them for? Let's not be loyal. They're not loyal to us. Should we refinance to another bank or stay with them? Are they giving me the best deal? Should I fix my mortgage or should I float my mortgage? What would help me to kind of attack it faster and pay the least amount of interest? If I do fix my mortgage, how long can I fix it for? And there's lots of commentary around that. We are, fingers crossed, waiting for another drop in interest rates at the end of this month. It's never guaranteed. The biggest dial shifter actually is not the interest rate. It's actually maximizing your surplus, finding the fritter and paying the mortgage off faster using that. But hey, let's always get the best interest rate we possibly can, right? So how should I structure the rest of my mortgage and how fast could I clear the damn thing? So it's quite key to understand your debt to income ratio. So the debt to income ratio is how many times your annual income goes into your mortgage. So an easy example of that is $100,000 income and a 500K mortgage. That's a 1 to 5 debt income to debt ratio. And this is actually more important. This is a more important metric in terms of getting you mortgage free faster. We believe here at Enable Me, if your debt to income ratio is 1 to 4, 1 to 4, 1 to 5, we can take that 30-year term down to 10 years. If your debt to income ratio is getting higher, like 6 or 7 or even 8, you may have overcommitted in terms of the debt that you've taken on. So what are the mortgage options? Should we refix? Should we refinance? Should we restructure? So the first option is refixing. Just stay with your current bank, just refix the mortgage that you have. So we stay with that bank for another year or however long you're fixed for. We lock in a new interest rate. Benefits to this, minimal paperwork, and we're not floating. So we're paying the least amount of interest. It means that we maintain the current loan structure though. Option number 2 is refinancing or considering refinancing to a different bank. So that means getting a new mortgage with a new lender. It means you can negotiate for better interest rates possibly, and you might be able to negotiate for better terms on your mortgage than you currently have with your existing bank. Downsides of this, it's quite a lot of paperwork. You do have to pay a lawyer. You've got to discharge the mortgage on the title. There's application fees, but it can be done in terms of opening up opportunity to access equity, or possibly we're looking to consolidate some other forms of debt onto your mortgage so we can kind of scoop that up and put it all on the same mortgage. So refinancing can often be a really good option. And the third option is to stay put with the same bank, but do a restructure. So we're adjusting the way you restructure your lending, but with the same bank. So we're locking in a new duration, new interest rates, and different repayment options. This usually is much more simple, involves less paperwork, and is less costly, but we can structure it in a way that's really flexible and align the mortgage with your financial goals and circumstances. So here at Enable Me, we do the exercise of understanding your starting point, your tendencies around money, and we find the fritter and get that surplus happening. And then we guide you around, well, how are we going to restructure your mortgage in the most appropriate way for you, whether or not that means shifting to a new bank. The plan is to break your mortgage down into savings targets every year that you can kill over and above your fixed repayments. We tailor that structure and we tailor those numbers to each specific client in terms of their financial plan, how much they can save, what they've got coming up, whether they have one-off costs. We break that mortgage down and we hold them accountable to paying off that extra principal via a revolving credit. So the restructuring is quite key, and we tailor that specifically to your financial plan. But I wanted to introduce this lovely couple, obviously changed their names, Luke and Jake. They came to us in 2017. They were in their mid-30s. They had what you would consider to be a slightly higher mortgage at that point, $700,000. They just bought their first home. They were sitting on a 30-year term, so not going to be on track to be mortgage-free until quite close to retirement. Their debt to income ratio was just over 1 to 5. So we did a projection to get the mortgage free in 12 years. They did it in 4. They're incredible. Over that time, they obviously increased their income. They had a few wins in terms of the interest rates going down over that period around COVID, where we kind of really stretched them to get ahead faster at that point. But over that time, they actually did some minor renovations. They bought a car. They had a wedding, they did some trips overseas, and then towards the latter stage of them getting mortgage free, they bought a couple of investment properties to help them grow wealth for retirement. It wasn't all plain sailing for these guys either. They actually did have some health challenges and a redundancy along the way. So it wasn't all plain sailing, but they believed in the plan, they followed it, they did what we said, and we got them mortgage free and on track to be sorted for retirement. Real life example. But yeah, plot twist. Being mortgage free is great, but actually that's not the end game. I've helped so many clients get mortgage free over the years, and it's kind of like, yeah, but now what? What next? Why are we getting mortgage free is to focus on unlocking new pathways and new opportunities. The quicker you get mortgage free, the more options you have around sorting a better retirement, how long that you work for, and just knowing that you've got a plan and that you're going to be sweet by the time you're ready to stop working. So when we talk about unlocking opportunities, so getting mortgage free opens up opportunities. One of the opportunities is being able to leverage. And usually I encourage my clients to consider leveraging before they actually become mortgage free. So leveraging means tapping into the equity to buy another property. So why do we like property? You can do it before you get mortgage free. If you're tracking and trying to kill your mortgage as fast as possible, it means that we're channeling all of your surplus savings into the mortgage. So actually, until you have paid that mortgage off, it's kind of the only option. So why do we like property? We believe that it outperforms other asset classes because of leverage. So you tap into the equity within your home, you 100% finance that investment property, you borrow the money for the property from the bank, but you get to keep 100% of the gains. So that's why we like leveraging to buy property. We also know that when you look back historically at the growth around different asset classes, property is actually the least volatile. So when you're looking at tracking the share market, you'll often see the graph, it all kind of trends up over time, but the share graph kind of goes up and down like this. Shares are very volatile. Property is actually very smooth. So yes, it goes up and down with the cycle, but a lot less volatile than shares. This is just an example of paying off your mortgage faster, but also having a wealth plan as part of that. So that's what we're kind of saying when we say, like, it's great to get mortgage free, but what are we unlocking by getting mortgage free faster? So always critical to have a wealth strategy, even though you're still working towards clearing your mortgage faster. So having that wealth strategy with killing your mortgage, let's get you mortgage free sooner. So in this graph, you can see this particular client, we got them mortgage free earlier. They were on track to get mortgage free at 65. We got them mortgage free at 55. And if you follow that green line, that allowed them to actually accumulate more wealth between age 55 and 65. But unless you have a wealth strategy in retirement, the money actually runs out, or you have to adjust your lifestyle. So for this particular client, there was a wealth gap of about $500,000. So it was understanding, well, what is the strategy here to manage your wealth and manage your investments to make them stretch even further right out to age 90. You can see how that red line indicates, you can take that wealth that you've accumulated and decumulate it without having to adjust your lifestyle. Why have a financial coach? Huge part of being financially successful is execution. You got to do it. There's a massive difference between knowing what to do and actually doing it. And I often see clients come to me and they'll say, oh, great, sounds amazing. Break the mortgage down to savings chunks, pay an extra bit off every year. I think I can DIY that, Shelley, and do that myself. Often they end up coming back to me a year later. Yeah, we didn't do it. I think working with a financial coach increases the odds of you achieving your goals because you just do better when you know someone's watching. Really important for us that we help our clients build a buffer as part of getting mortgage free faster. We want to de-risk your financial plan as much as possible and help you to be as financially resilient as possible while we're executing on our mortgage killing and wealth creation plan. Accountability is key, particularly if you're of the obliger persuasion, which I am. Accountability is key. You must have someone checking in with you and holding you accountable to achieving. Having a coach can just help you, stop from falling back on old habits. So reviewing everything today, it's important to get mortgage free as quickly as possible because number one, it helps reduce the interest that you're paying to the bank. But number two, it allows you to build equity in your home. Equity means that you can start growing wealth and preparing for retirement. Because what we're finding now that there's an increasing amount of retirees that are kind of landing at age 65 with a mortgage, and that's not okay in our books. So how do you do this? Don't worry about interest rates. Yes, it's great to get the best interest rate, but we can't control that. The solution comes from looking within, maximizing your cash surplus, having a plan, and keeping yourself accountable to it. You can do this by speaking with someone from Enable Me and getting a coach to help you execute on this. We'll help keep you on track and we'll be there to celebrate those wins along the way. So we would like to extend a special to those of you online today. Come along, talk to us for an initial consultation. We normally charge $400 for those consultations, but if you scan the QR code and you register or book that consultation today, you will get that discounted down to $149, which is great value. It's a 90-minute session. Come along and talk to one of our coaches, see if we can get some magic happening for you. If you want to make a booking after this date, so if you don't make the booking today, you don't have to hold it. You can just lock that booking in, but if you are watching the recording or you miss making the booking today, you still get a discounted consultation that just gets discounted down to $249. So hopefully we've got time for some Q&A, and I'll get my producer Jess to pop on and read through any questions. I think we've got about 4 minutes, so maybe just a couple.
Great, thank you so much, Shelley, for the incredible presentation. Yes, we've got a bit of time for a couple of questions. First question that came through, is it worth buying shares while I still have a mortgage? I would effectively be borrowing to invest in the share market.
Yeah, this is a very common question, and I often get clients who one of their budget lines or one of their outgoings is that they may be kind of contributing to Sharesies, or they have a fund somewhere, or they're buying shares. When you talk about shares, if you're buying shares in one company, that is a very risky strategy from an investment point of view. Generally, if we're investing in shares, we'd be wanting to do that as a diversified portfolio. But I think, what's the risk of you investing in shares or a diversified kind of managed fund instead of killing your mortgage, right? So we know that shares are very volatile, that the returns that you're getting within that fund can go up and down quite a lot. Paying off your mortgage is a guaranteed risk-free return because you're not paying 6.89% on your mortgage. If you're contributing to a share portfolio, it means that you're not paying down the mortgage and you're not increasing the equity on your home at the same rate. So it's possible that you're missing out on opportunity as well. So just a couple of things to think about there. Some of my clients do a little bit, but what is the opportunity cost, I guess? That would be the question to ask yourself. How much are you contributing to those shares? If you put that on your mortgage, how much more quickly could we get you mortgage free, and what would be those opportunities that you could unlock by doing so?
Thank you so much, Shelley. We probably have time for one more question. Yep. So the question is, does offsetting a loan help you repay it faster? We are using our emergency fund to offset part of our mortgage. Is this a good strategy?
I don't love, and I need to clarify here, I think the difference between an offset mortgage and a revolving credit, because some people use them interchangeably and that's not quite correct. An offset mortgage is where you say, for example, you had a $10,000 emergency fund in a savings account. You could actually take $10,000 from your mortgage, have it as a separate mortgage portion, and then the 10K in your emergency fund essentially means that you are not paying interest on that 10K portion of your mortgage. So that is what an offset mortgage is. And that's what I think this particular viewer is asking. I don't love an offset product because you're actually still making a mortgage repayment on that 10K loan. If we created a revolving credit instead, so that's where we actually don't have any mortgage repayments, we apply your 10K of savings. Again, we take 10K off your fixed mortgage, we create a revolving credit, and then we transfer your savings in. You're actually not making a mortgage repayment. It's just a facility that you could draw down on. So I like that better because you think, well, the repayments that you were making on that offset loan at 0%, we can now channel that towards your higher interest on your mortgage, or put it towards getting better returns elsewhere. So we prefer to tap into utilising revolving credits rather than offset mortgages, if that makes sense.
Thank you so much, Shelley. Apologies for those we haven't gotten to for their questions. We've run out of time, but please feel free to email through your questions, or better yet, bring your questions to a financial consultation. But I'll hand it over to you, Shelley, to close off.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jess. And I think just the big takeout from today is look within, don't be stressed about what's happening around you. Control the controllables, understand thyself. And as always, come and see us here at Enable Me to help you get ahead faster. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.